We begin in Zimbabwe and running battles between police and opposition supporters in the capital, Harare. The main opposition alliance, the MDC, is claiming the elections have been rigged. The army has been deployed on the streets of Harare to quell the tensions there. Protests have been staged at the party headquarters and the Electoral Commission's offices. The opposition has accused the Electoral Authority of bias for weeks now. On Tuesday, the MDC declared victory before the official results had been announced. That prompted police to issue a warning to the party. Well, CGTN's Voldi Carosa has been following the opposition protests for us. She joins us from Harare with the latest. Voldi, a lot of tension in Harare. What's happening there right now?
Well, Karen, we've just taken a drive through the streets of Harare, and certainly none of the chaos that we saw for about 3 hours this afternoon, that's completely subsided now. Though the tanks and the water cannons and the soldiers and the police are still stationed on many of the streets in Zimbabwe's capital tonight. They'll be keeping a close eye on whether or not protests flare up again. We saw these burning barricades and these running protests throughout the day today. Everything seemed calm. Police acted with a great deal of restraint up until about lunchtime, when the army rolled onto the streets. The kind of reception they got was completely different to what we saw in November, when the army rolled onto Harare streets and were welcomed, where people were kissing the soldiers and clambering onto the tanks with their flags. This was a completely different scene here, Karen. People running literally for their lives. Unsure whether or not live ammunition was used. I do know that eyewitnesses say there's at least one fatality. We've been unable to confirm this. The presidential spokesperson, Emerson Mnangagwa's spokesperson, is due to brief the media in just a few short minutes. So we're expecting that. Hopefully we can get an update on that. But just this afternoon, soldiers beating people, whether with their rifles or with the sticks that they picked up or their shamboks, their whips that they carried with them, tanks chasing people, elderly people, young people, even those not actually involved in the demonstrations, to make sure that they got off the streets, Karen.
And Voldi, incumbent President Emerson Mnangagwa is calling for calm. What can you tell us about that?
Well, he has been calling for calm since this morning. He did so on social media. I think that this presidential spokesperson, the briefing that we're expecting, that I just referred to, we'll probably elaborate a little bit more on that. He's just saying that nobody should announce the results before they're made officially available by the Electoral Commission, because those results need to be verified. But of course, MDC Alliance and their leader Nelson Chamisa, they're digging their heels in with his supporters, saying that it is evident that these elections have been rigged. The people we spoke to today who showed up outside MDC Alliance headquarters, Morgan Changirai House here on Nelson Mandela Avenue, certainly absolutely believe that these elections have been won by Chamisa, and that Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF, the ruling party, are stealing these elections. That is their conviction, that is their feeling. And they say it's based on the fact that these V11 forms, how the results were posted outside these polling stations, that not all of this was done. They're saying according to their party official calculations, Chamisa is the clear winner, and they're refusing to concede defeat should that be what the Electoral Commission finds. But of course, Karen, we don't have those presidential results yet. And the reason we don't have those presidential results yet is because the Electoral Commission says there's been a delay in getting all of the presidential candidates to come here to the National Results Centre and verify the results before they release them. The MDC Alliance's party officials didn't show up to do that. So we don't know when we'll be getting those results. The Electoral Commission says it was ready to announce the presidential ballot today, but couldn't, because that verification process hasn't been completed, and they need to do so in order to meet the legal requirements of the Electoral Act. And all this wait is doing is causing more tension and anxiety, not just here on the streets of Harare, but also in other centres and in other towns.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Voldi. That was CGTN's Voldi Carosa there in Harare in Zimbabwe.